picked up right where he left off last year. Xavier made some big plays. And so it's just we're going to continue to build and then hopefully get Hollywood back and see what this offense can really be.
Oof. Okay, here's where we're at now. We updated this graphic now, 5-1 against Lamar. Nick, were you happy with this performance?
I think this was a perfect scenario for the Chiefs. Not a perfect performance for Mahomes, but it was the perfect performance for Mahomes. And here's what I mean. He looked sharp, threw the ball 28 times, 25 were exactly where he wanted them to be. He had 3 misses. It was 10 yards per attempt. You know, had his just the second, or the second touchdown of 20-plus air yards in the last 2 years was that one. You saw that what I anticipated would happen, which is that short over the middle to Rice and Kelsey, like I was talking about yesterday, it was all Rice, not a lot of Kelsey, was there, and that rapport was there. And he had 2 awful mistakes, one awful mistake and one almost awful mistake that will infuriate him, that will keep him sharp for the Bengals game. The pick at the end of the first half was terrible. Yeah. And it was just I know he got hit a little bit, but it was unnecessary. It was first down. It was terrible. And the Chiefs could have really just not ended the game, but taken full control there. Instead, the Ravens go down and get a field goal. And then the play at the very end of the game was unnecessarily risky, because it's fine if you just get sacked or go down, keep the clock running. But for him to make that mistake of that throw that gets tipped and could have been picked, but to then make an unbelievable play to prevent the interception, I don't know if we can show the video, prevent the interception and make the catch, which again, clock management-wise was enormous. It would have been Ravens ball with 2:20 in the 2-minute warning. Instead, it was Ravens ball with 1:51. So if I were, by Patrick Mahomes standards, this is like a B- game.
Yeah.
But I'm thrilled with that, given what I think it sets the script for the rest of the year.
Well, look, I think the point you had made about Rashid, I actually think he could have a Travis Kelce type year. Like, wow. he was great underneath. Yeah. I mean, and that's going to be open, especially when they get Hollywood Brown. It's going to be more wide open. So, yeah, that was one of the strengths of the offense to me. But, Coach, I think a lot of the things the Ravens did were self-inflicted wounds that are correctable. Now, if you want to say that's who they are, well, if you want to win the Super Bowl, that can't be who you are. And the head coach and the staff need to take care of it and stop. They have to get the players to stop making these self-inflicted errors, because, and the Chiefs look good, particularly the Rice underneath. But offensively, their touchdowns, one was a completely broken play, the pass to Worthy, that's correctable for the Ravens. The run by Worthy was just a great play. That's just a great touchdown run. But then the other touchdown where Pacheco scored on the 1-yard run, that if there's no roughing the passer call on the Ravens, it's 3rd and 20. And that likely ends in a field goal, because the Ravens defense in the first half had kept them to 2 field goals. One possession, they started from the Ravens 14 after the fumble. I'm thinking, of course, that's a touchdown. And so I just think the Chiefs got a few big plays, one a blown coverage by the Ravens. And so the Ravens, I feel, Coach, can look at a lot of these things and say, okay, we can correct the things that beat us. And they're in our control. It's not in the Chiefs' control.
Yeah, the Chiefs definitely benefited from a new defensive coordinator, and it looked like Baltimore had some things to work out. Well, I mean, I know we're
celebrating. Classic one. I'm just celebrating being correct.
Well, I know we're celebrating Worthy's gigantic catch where there's nobody within like 7 miles of him.
I didn't even mention it.
Great throw, great catch against air. So that was good. And then the team meeting on the reverse that Worthy had, I think, that was well designed by the Chiefs, but not very well defended on the other side of it. And you're right, the self-inflicted wounds are a problem. And Baltimore has these post-game proclamations where, we're going to get him next time, and he better not talk, and I'm going to find him, and all these things, kind of like we heard after they were eliminated from the playoffs. But you're right, they need it's a little bit less of that and more of fixing the errors that are preventing them from winning a game like this. And the self-inflicted wounds they're they're killers, and they're killers against a team like Kansas City, which
you got
didn't
no
have,
room for error.
which didn't have very much error. And even with Rice's catches, I think they found something formationally, which got a nice matchup.
Yeah, they found wherever 40 was. Go after him. That guy, I thought he was a fullback playing
So it was
linebacker.
one of those things that structurally really played out well and didn't seem like it got fixed very quickly. And to the Chiefs' credit, they took advantage of it multiple times before it did get addressed.
Coach, are you just narrative-wise, we've been having these little battle that, you know, it's still game one, but you were impressed with the Chiefs. I was impressed with the Chiefs. Brew saying it's just a sloppy game that is going to change. How do you see this going out? Do you see, you know what, the Chiefs are also going to get better as the Ravens get better. Is the headline of this, the Ravens played sloppy or the Chiefs played great?
I don't think the Chiefs played great, but I think that's good news for the Chiefs. I think the fact that they only averaged 3 yards a carry and still won the game like they did and scored 27 points, that's good news. The fact that Travis Kelce only had 3 catches and they still scored 27 points, that's good news for them. The fact that the left tackle, who's a rookie, was able to hold up pretty well against a formidable front and a front that brings a lot of different things, to me, that's good news as well. However, opening game of the season is a very unique game because of everybody getting adjusted to it and a new defensive coordinator. So I wouldn't probably put never a doubt on my forearm yet.
Well, that was for last year, and it's there forever.
But there's a lot of encouraging things.
But here's the other thing, and I'll just say quickly. Last year, the biggest problem with the Chiefs, and Brew, to his credit, was sounding the alarm about it in week 1, and I was poo-pooing it, and it, you know, oddly, we kind of both ended up being right. I was right that they were going to be fine. You were right that it was never going to get fixed with the receiver stuff. Right. I don't know how you can't, when you watch this game, and it's like, oh, okay, Xavier Worthy is going to be an impactful player.
Yes.
I'm not saying he had a perfect game, but he touched the ball 3 times. 2 of them were 20-plus yard touchdowns. It's positive. And no one can defend Rashee Rice's offseason. And if people want to say he should be suspended, that is totally valid opinion. I think he is going to be suspended. It's just going to be next year. You can take what is definitively true is, I think, and the broadcast to me exacerbated it, he continues to be one of the more underrated guys in the league. The way they talk about Zay Flowers, who was taken in the same draft, in the 20 picks ahead of Rashee versus Rashee Rice, we can show you their careers. Rashee has been the better player. He has more catches, more yards per game, more yards per catch, more touchdowns. He is the more reliable player.
But unfortunately for him, Nick, is he's going to be graded down because of the quarterback that he's playing with.
The other guy's playing with the league MVP.
I think
the other guy's playing with the league MVP.
Okay,
but you know he's not a great
that the league MVP wasn't because of his elite passing.
I do think Zay is better than Rashee. If he were on the Chiefs, I think Zay would be even more than Rashee.
Okay, so again, like I said, I think, so the point I'm making, whether we want to argue Rashee versus Zay, is the Chiefs' biggest weakness was their receiving core. They now have, to me, solid, if we're ranking all number 1 receivers, I think Rashee Rice would be a below average number 1 receiver, but that's just because the league is so deep at receiver. And I think last year was like, hopefully, maybe he can be a number 2. You then have Xavier Worthy, who looks like
that's going to work.
That's going to work. And then we'll see what Hollywood does. And so it's like, oh, all of a sudden, that's at least just call it league average receiver.
And the great thing for Kansas City is the number 1 receiver is Travis Kelce.
Correct. And so like I didn't think it was a perfect game for the Chiefs. Oh my goodness.
You know what that sound means? It's time for a segment so hot. My grandmother was in line at the airport, told the TSA agent,
"Why? I'm not flying the plane."
It's upsetting. They take your liquids.